Mon nom est Pascal, bienvenue encore ce soir, 36e édition de Crypto In Montreal. C'est une présentation d'introduction sur le Bitcoin, sur qu'est-ce qui fait que c'est décentralisé. Alors j'espère que vous allez en apprendre autant que je vais en apprendre ce soir. Je vais laisser la parole à Kadesh qui va nous présenter le Desjardins Live. Donc, comme vous savez, c'est gratuit, je ne vous demande pas une scène, je n'en demanderai jamais, c'est mon intention. Donc, c'est des gens grâce comme Kadesh et comme Annelise ici qui nous font confiance. Alors, un petit bravo, un petit applaudissement. Merci beaucoup de nous accueillir. Et voilà, qu'est-ce qui est le Desjardins?
Bonjour, est-ce que tout le monde parle français, anglais ici ou qui parle juste anglais? Only speak English? Okay, I'll speak English. Hi, my name is Kesh. I'm the communication advisor / event planner for the Desjardins Lab. What we do at the Desjardins Lab in like 2 minutes is we do R&D, research and development, but we also have a part where we organize conferences every Tuesday and Thursday at noon. Tuesday in Lévis and Thursday in Montreal. We also have 5 to 7s that we do organize, like this one we host. We welcome groups of interest to use our space here, and we also host events, and you just need to go on our Facebook page, and you also can go on our website, www.rdvinnovation.com, if you want to learn more about what we do. I'm just going to mention that on October 24th, we will be receiving Persian Women in Tech. If you know about them, you can go on our Facebook page and register yourself if you wish to attend the event. So have a nice evening, and I will give the mic back to
Right, so now this is your floor, Uzma. Please impress us, impress me. I want to know everything you know.
Okay.
This is yours.
Well, I've got this.
You want to speak with a mic? No mic?
Is this okay?
It is okay.
What is it just for the video?
Can people hear you?
Can you hear me?
It's not working.
No, it's not going to be on the room.
But can you hear me or should I use the mic? Tell me.
I can hear you, but I'm right in front of you.
Can you hear me, guys, in the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be clicking
it.
that to change the slides. You know, I'm going to have the mic and this in my hand. Going to get confused. Okay, so welcome everybody to Bitcoin Decentralization Governance. My name is Uzma, and in 2018 I started teaching people how to use cryptocurrencies, like how to set up their wallet, how to buy cryptocurrencies, how to secure cryptocurrencies. And then early 2019 I started doing educational presentations to teach people how to value Bitcoin. I myself started learning about Bitcoin in 2017, right before the market started, blowing up, and there was such a lot of noise around the market. And I noticed that a lot of people, because they didn't understand the technology, they were either suffering from FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, like they thought Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme or it's just used by criminals. And then I had noticed other people that were just thinking Bitcoin was a get-quick-rich scheme. They didn't understand the technology, and they would throw money at it, not knowing what kind of risk they were taking. And when the market would fall, they would lose a lot, so they'd buy high, sell low, and they would panic. And these same people would be looking for the next Bitcoin and would try to invest. And I saw a lot of people get burnt. And this is because people do not understand the value of Bitcoin. What is the uniqueness of Bitcoin compared to other cryptocurrencies? Now, Bitcoin was the first Bitcoin blockchain cryptocurrency. Its innovation, its revolutionary innovation, started the whole cryptocurrency market. The new cryptocurrency started coming out of Bitcoin. Now, this whole market, including Bitcoin, is a new asset class. And it's predicted that this asset class, this market, is going to go into trillions in the next coming decades. So if you take that into perspective, you can imagine how much scamming, how much misunderstanding and confusion and FUD and FOMO will continue in this space. So it's very important to understand that if you want to invest in it, if you want to do anything in this space, if you want to buy Bitcoin, anything, you're the best person to judge. If you have to go ask somebody, should I buy Bitcoin? How much should I invest? Should I hold it or should I sell it? Then you don't know the technology well enough to make that decision. So my presentation, what I want to do today is talk about how all the components Bitcoin, all the components that participate in the Bitcoin come together to make this whole system work. So it's a technical presentation, but I try to keep it high level. And then I discuss the participants in this network, what are their incentives? Why do they use Bitcoin? So it's just a good overview of Bitcoin, the technology, and the whole ecosystem culture around Bitcoin. And then you can hopefully assess for yourself what value it can bring to you, and then you're able to assess what's going on in the cryptocurrency market. Because you're going to see governments come out with their cryptocurrencies, and you already see tech companies like Facebook coming out with cryptocurrencies. And you won't understand what it can or cannot do for you unless you really understand what Bitcoin is, because Bitcoin is truly unique. So I'm going to start off with very quick. This is just going to be a very high level description, because if I go into details for each, we're going to be here like all day. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, Bitcoin wallets, the Bitcoin blockchain, the Bitcoin software protocol, because that's a little confusing. We have the Bitcoin cryptocurrency and we also have the Bitcoin software protocol. Bitcoin nodes, Bitcoin miners, and Bitcoin developers and users. So let's start off. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the world's first decentralized, deflationary money system on the World Wide Web. Basically, it's digital cash. You can hold it outside of the banking system, so you can have it on your electronic wallet and hold it there. You can transfer peer-to-peer across the internet instantaneously, so you can send it to anyone around this world anytime, as long as they're connected to the internet. Right now, when you do a transfer, financial transfer, you send somebody money, it goes to your bank, it goes to a second layer financial service, and then it goes to the bank of the person you're trying to send it to. And each of these intermediaries have control of how much you're sending, who you're sending to. They can block you, they can censor you, and they actually take their fees for doing that, providing you that service. Bitcoin is unique, because Bitcoin lets you go straight with the internet to the exact person that you want to send it to. Anytime, any place, instantaneously. Now the other characteristics of Bitcoin is there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins created. That means it's limited. So because it's limited, it has a store of value and property, just like gold. So we're going to discuss exactly how this plays out in the network. Now the currency could be broken into a smaller unit of Satoshis, okay? So one Satoshi is 100 million one Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis. So to just give you a perspective, one Satoshi on September 28th of 2019 was equal to 0.00081 USD, or 1 USD was equal to 12,247 Satoshis. Now that's 8 decimal places. So people ask, why do you need 8 decimal places? Well, you can buy smaller amounts of Bitcoin. And also, Bitcoin was designed for this digital economy, the evolution of digital economy. If you consider artificial intelligence, if you consider Internet of Things, Bitcoin was also designed to evolve with that type of technology. Bitcoin wallets. Well, what's a transaction? Transaction is basically a transfer value between 2 Bitcoin wallets. So wallet ABC sends a certain amount of Bitcoin to wallet XYZ. So it's basically a transaction. It has a transaction ID, it has a Bitcoin amount that you're sending, the receiving address, and the sending address of the wallet. And now, what the blockchain is, we're going to talk a bit later in the next slide, but blockchain is a database, a digital ledger. And what it does, it stores or records all the incoming and outgoing transactions that your wallet does, okay? And it records that onto the blockchain. So basically, when you open up your wallet and you see a balance in your electronic wallet, what your wallet is basically doing is going to the blockchain and getting all the incoming and outgoing transactions for that wallet and determines what your balance is. So what you need to be aware of is that Bitcoin is not represented as a coin. It's represented as transactions, which are recorded on the blockchain. Now, what does your wallet actually contain? Your wallet contains public and private keys. And they're used to digitally sign your transactions. So when you want to receive a transaction, your public and private keys will generate a wallet address for you to receive your transactions. And then when you want to send a transaction to somebody, you want to send Bitcoin to someone, it basically uses a private key to authorize the transactions. It's private because if anybody gets access to that key, then they actually can go onto the blockchain and steal your Bitcoin. So that's why it has to remain private. The other thing is, Bitcoin, the transactions in Bitcoins are on the internet and search on a transaction ID, and you'll see exactly from what wallet to what wallet the Bitcoin are going to and what amount. So you've got the transaction ID, the date, the wallet going to, coming from, and the wallet is going to, and the amounts. In this case, you see this wallet address has 0.002 Bitcoins. Because you're sending that because that's actually a network fee. Every time you do a Bitcoin transaction, you have to pay a small network fee. Bitcoin network fee. But you can see exactly what transaction, what a wallet is receiving your Bitcoin. Now, we call this pseudo-anonymous because as you can see, there's no names attached to those wallets. It's just a wallet ID. But depending on how you do your transactions, like if you go onto a site where you put your personal information in, then your name could be tracked to your wallet. So Bitcoin right now is not private, it's pseudo-anonymous. Bitcoin blockchain. What is a blockchain? Bitcoin blockchain basically stores all Bitcoin transactions or records all Bitcoin transactions in data in a chronological order. So you have all these Bitcoin transactions in the internet, and they're collected and they're put into a block and they're attached to this kind of digital ledger. New transaction comes in, a new block gets filled, that gets attached to the ledger. The unique thing about Bitcoin blockchain is basically it uses a digital hash function, which is just a program, a mathematical program that basically takes any input and generates a unique fingerprint for that input. So in Bitcoin case, we're using SHA-256 cryptographic hash function. You don't need to go into detail, it's just a mathematical function. And it basically takes a block and creates a unique ID for that block, a unique fingerprint. The cool thing about this is that if anything changes in this block, this hash ID changes. So that means that the hash ID that's used to link all these blocks together actually break. So Bitcoin uses a cryptographic function to keep the blockchain secure. Okay, it's a tool. It's actually a tool. There's other ways of, there's a way it uses that tool, but the cryptographic function is used to keep the blockchain from any type of manipulation. So a lot of cryptocurrencies in the market have their own blockchain. Some are public, some are private. And that depends on the blockchain properties. Some blockchains are flexible. So if you need to change something in the block, once it's in here, you're able to do it without damaging the integrity of the blockchain. Some are mutable, meaning once the data is written there, once it's recorded, you cannot change it. Bitcoin is the most immutable. So once your transactions are completed, it gets written onto the blockchain and nobody can change it. So it gives us a sense of security for the blockchain. Some blockchains are hidden or not transparent. Basically, some projects, some cryptocurrencies do not want you to see what's on the blockchain, what data is on the blockchain. So they're hidden. Bitcoin, we saw that it's transparent. It's open. It's permissionless. What that basically means is that anybody has permission to use Bitcoin. You don't have to go get and ask somebody to use Bitcoin. So whenever you use Bitcoin, you're doing a transaction, you're basically using the blockchain. Your data is being written on the blockchain. That's what it means. That's what it means when you say Bitcoin is an open, permissionless, has an open and permissionless blockchain. Not everybody has that. Not all the cryptocurrencies have that. Some are private. Then the other property is restricted. Again, like I mentioned, not everybody can use it, right? Bitcoin is the most open, so anybody could use the blockchain. Now, what I really want to say here is in 2017, everybody was talking about blockchain this, blockchain that. And there were conferences taking place all around the world. And the mantra they were using was basically blockchain is the innovation, not Bitcoin. And there was so much VC money being thrown at projects because they claimed they have blockchain. There are projects popping up everywhere, companies saying we're blockchain, we're blockchain. But nobody really understood what blockchain was. Blockchain is not the innovation. Blockchain is just a digital ledger. Okay? blockchain, Bitcoin was the first blockchain, cryptocurrency. It designed this digital ledger to support its decentralization properties. So it's not a relational database. So it's very inefficient to use if you don't use in a decentralized manner like the way Bitcoin uses it. And many projects within the cryptocurrency sphere that have said they have blockchain, many of them have not succeeded because they have gone back to their typical relational database that worked very well in a centralized solution. So what's important to know is when you hear of a project that's using blockchain, it's very important to ask what kind of blockchain is it? Is it public? Is it private? What kind of properties does it have? And then for what purpose? Because not every company needs a decentralized system, or they don't have a decentralized business model. Some companies need to keep their information private. Some companies need to keep it hidden, or not everybody can use your database. You can't just go right into somebody's database. So this is very important to ask, because if you don't ask that, that's how people get scammed. One of the biggest scams right now, I don't know if you've heard about it, is called OneCoin. It's running globally. And basically, in 2014, they said, we have blockchain, and blockchain was getting popular at that time. People started throwing money at it. They don't have a blockchain. And they have right now, they have networks all around the world. You can actually do research. BBC, there's a podcast on BBC about OneCoin. They have stolen about 4 billion euros of money from people. They have scammed people out, and there's still people buying into it. And these people, they target people that do not understand this technology. So it's very important that you do understand, you do your research and understand what blockchain is and what is Bitcoin's blockchain. Okay? So the Bitcoin software protocol. Bitcoin software protocol is basically, we call it Bitcoin Core. It's just an algorithm that verifies transactions. It creates Bitcoin, it secures a blockchain, and it has a built-in monetary system. So it manages a blockchain and it manages the whole Bitcoin network. The cool thing about it is there's a software just based on math and rules, okay? And it's open source. It's open source. It's on GitHub. Any developer around the world could contribute to it. And they do. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit about that. So the other component we have is Bitcoin nodes. People have heard about Bitcoin miners, but not many people understand what Bitcoin nodes are. Can you see from there? Because I'm standing in front of you. Is it fine? Yeah. Okay, sorry. So what Bitcoin's nodes are, they basically run the blockchain. If you go on the internet and you do some searches about Bitcoin, they talk about a blockchain. They say a blockchain is somewhere that runs in the cloud. Well, yeah, this is a cloud. There are thousands of these computers running around the world in a network that basically run the blockchain. And their responsibility is to, as a first line, it's a line of defense against fraudulent transactions. So they verify transactions based on protocol rules. So they pick up transactions on the internet and they verify those transactions against Bitcoin rules to make sure it complies with it. So no double spending, no other type of fraudulent activity can occur. So when you receive a Bitcoin, when you do a transaction with Bitcoin, you're assured that this is not a counterfeit Bitcoin or a fake Bitcoin. So that's what nodes do. Basically how it works, a node will pick up a transaction, verify those transactions against a set of protocol rules, Bitcoin protocol rules, and then once it verifies to be correct, it tells us peer nodes, I verified to be correct, and the peer nodes do the same thing. They verify that transactions against the protocol rules. Now, once a consensus, a majority consensus network of these Bitcoin nodes decide that this transaction is valid, it's not fraudulent, then it gets put on into a memory called mempool, ready to be put onto the blockchain, to be recorded onto the blockchain. Now, this whole network is trustless. What that means is that none of the nodes trust each other. That's really cool, because if one of the nodes decides I'm going to do some fraudulent activity on the blockchain, and says, okay, this is the valid transaction, the other peer nodes will realize it's not a valid transaction because they're going to check against the rules also. And at that point, the other nodes actually blacklist that node that was trying to pass a fraudulent transaction. So it's really self-adjusting, and no nodes trust each other. That's what it means, trustless. Now, anybody could run a Bitcoin node. It's very, very affordable. To run a Bitcoin node, you need about 300 gig disk space, 1 gig of RAM, a regular broadband connection. You can run on Windows, Mac OS, Linux. Anybody can run it. It's very affordable. Why do people run it? Because it gives them a level of privacy and security. So a lot of people that value their Bitcoin want to keep it secure for any type of hacks or things like that, and have an extra level of security. They run Bitcoin nodes, and basically it's running like it's like running your own bank, because you are verifying your own transactions. So the transaction is going out, transactions coming in, your node verifies it. So you know if there's a fraudulent node out there, well, I won't be affected. I know that the transaction I'm receiving, I'm going to check against my own set of rules. So for example, if you go buy a car, you want to buy something and you're expecting a transaction to come in, somebody's paying you 2 Bitcoins to buy a car, transaction comes to your node's going to verify that it's a valid Bitcoin transaction. So that's why people run. It gives you a higher level of privacy also, because then they can set up these type of onion routing, different type of setups, so you get more privacy in your transactions. Miners. Miners are basically these expensive GPUs. Yes.
Sorry, I have a question about
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Sure.
That's a good question.
Sure.
How important are the nodes to the network? Like, do miners also validate?
Miners cannot validate transactions. It's only nodes that validate transactions.
So a miner will just blindly mine? They won't validate?
They don't validate transactions. So nodes play a critical role. In fact, if you look at the whole Bitcoin network, the most powerful component or influence that have influence on the Bitcoin network are nodes, because they're the ones who decide what protocol rules the transactions need to be verified against. Yeah. Okay. So miners are basically very expensive GPUs that are responsible to add blocks of blockchain, mine Bitcoins, and secure the blockchain from hacks. So how it works, basically, we saw these valid transactions go into a mempool that the nodes put into the mempool. The miners go in there, take a amount of transactions that fit into a block, and they put into a block, and then they run the cryptographic hash function to get the hash ID. Then they run a puzzle, and this is a game. They're all racing to solve this equation. So basically they're trying to find this value, a nonce, that makes this equation valid. And in that process, they're actually creating Bitcoin. They're mining Bitcoin, okay? So this is a electricity intensive or computationally intensive operation they do. The first the first miner that finds the valid nonce has to be verified by the consensus of the other miners in the network. So the other miners in the network verify if this nonce that this miner found is correct. If 51% of the miners find that verify that at least 51% of the miners in the network determine this nonce to be correct, then the block gets mined, meaning the block with those transactions get put onto the blockchain, and the miner that found the nonce gets rewarded with Bitcoin. Okay? This whole process is called the Bitcoin consensus algorithm. You're going to hear about this. It's called proof of work. Okay? It's a very, very powerful consensus algorithm, and that's the innovation behind Bitcoin, not the blockchain. This. The reason is because a proof of work consensus algorithm plays with human psychology to keep the blockchain secure, to keep the whole Bitcoin network secure. How that works is that it's very, very expensive to mine. You probably heard about that already. You have to buy these GPUs, which are expensive itself, and it uses a lot of electricity just to do this solve this cryptographic puzzle. Okay? Now, if a miner wants to do some fraudulent activity on the network, he still has to put effort in. He has to incur electricity costs to find the nonce. But what happens is that most likely his effort will not succeed, whatever fraudulent activity he's doing, because that invalid nonce or whatever it is will not be accepted by the consensus of the network. They will say it's not a correct nonce, and his effort of manipulating the blockchain however does not succeed, and at the same time he does not get the Bitcoin reward. He has to spend extensive electricity costs, but at the end he does not achieve anything. So this is what proof of work does. And in the cryptocurrency market, there's many type of consensus algorithms that exist. There's proof of stake, proof of, I can't remember, some proof of something else, POI, and there's different types. And they're in their experimental phase. People are testing it. But proof of work has been shown to be the most secure because it uses our psychological behavior. Why would you want to spend electricity costs? Why would you incur costs and not achieve what you need to achieve? So this proof of work makes sure that the network, of Bitcoin network, stays secure. That's when they say Bitcoin is the most secure network. And then at the same time, the higher the Bitcoin price goes, the more miners want to mine and make Bitcoins. They want the reward. So it's game theory and it's based on human psychology. So miners, there's people that can do individual mining, but it's expensive. I think these ant miners cost like $2,000-3,000. Most people mine in pools and mining services. Now, if you want to mine, depends on your regional electricity cost, how much it costs in your city to mine. So there's actually, you can go to a site and determine if it's possible for you to mine, depending on the hardware you're going to use and how much electricity your city. Most mining pools use electricity surpluses. There are a lot of cities around that have, regions that have electricity surplus. So the city is willing to, because it goes to waste if you don't use it. So they're willing to sell it and make money from that. So a lot of miners go to places where the cities or regions are willing to give them surplus electricity. And a lot of them move to friendlier regulatory jurisdictions. For example, in China, you must have heard where China was banned mining. You must have heard, they tried it several times. People thought, there's not going to be any mining. Nobody can mine in China because China has the biggest mining. They had the biggest mining at that time. What happened was that they all moved to Japan and all moved to South Korea because they were friendly. They go, come here, set up your mining rigs. So a lot of countries, they say, if you can't mine in that country, come here because it's a business opportunity for a lot of countries, a lot of nations to make money from this. So it's a big business venture. A lot of people say Bitcoin is bad for the environment, okay? But if you do your research, you find out, if you consider compared to even gold mining or even our whole financial institution, the whole infrastructure that costs for banks to run everything, the carbon footprint of Bitcoin is relatively small compared to gold mining, very small. And even banks, the whole institutions, the transportation that requires it. So it's not, it's more of a FUD statement to scare people and say, okay, Bitcoin is bad for the environment. The other thing is, 70% of the mining that is done right now, the energy that comes from mining is reused for green projects. So it's very interesting. We can do some research on that and find out how to have innovative ways to use the energy that comes from mining. Now, the whole computational mining network all over the world, all these little computers doing mining, the whole computational power of that is called hash rate. You must have heard that. Oh, the Bitcoin hash rate has gone up so high, so high. Hash rate is the computational power of the whole mining network around the world, all the miners and the pools. Right now, Bitcoin hash rate is 100 exahashes per second, okay? To give you a perspective, one hash is equal to 3,000 to 4,000 integer operations, okay? So one hexahash is 1 quintillion, that's 18 zeros. So 100 exahashes per second makes it the biggest supercomputer in this world. Okay, and it's it's still going up very, very, very fast. That means more and more miners are coming in. They want to mine Bitcoins. Hash rate is what keeps the network secure. Okay, the more their hash rate are, the more their miners, the more secure the network is. So if somebody wanted to go, like I said, break the Bitcoin blockchain where all these transactions are, or manipulate it, or attack it, or do whatever, and people do that, and they've been trying to attack the Bitcoin network. You need at least 51% of that hash rate to succeed in attacking the Bitcoin network. 51%. So that means if you want to break the Bitcoin blockchain, you have to somehow produce 51%, at least 51% of that hash rate. So it takes considerable money, considerable effort, considerable coordination, and considerable time to be able to break the Bitcoin blockchain. So that's when they say Bitcoin is secure, that's what it means. Now, the monetary Bitcoin also has a monetary. Did I miss a piece? No. Sorry. No. Okay. So the Bitcoin software also has a monetary system built in. So basically, the supply of Bitcoin, the rate at which Bitcoin are produced or created or mined, is regulated mathematically. So what happens right now? Every 10 minutes, a block is mined. That's the whole process I talked about in the mining section, right? So every 10 minutes, the cryptographic puzzle is solved by a miner or group of, pool of miners, and that block gets put onto the blockchain. So that's called mining. So every 10 minutes, a block is mined, and in that process, Bitcoins are created. So today, every 10 minutes, 12.5 Bitcoins are mined. It's like a heartbeat of the Bitcoin network. Every 10 minutes, Bitcoins are mined. And this is 24/7, 365 days a year. Every 10 minutes, 12.5 Bitcoins are created, okay, and rewarded to the miner that found the nonce. Now, imagine, well, it's not imagine, it's actually happening. As the hash rate increases, as our computational power of the network, the Bitcoin network increases, you can solve this equation faster, right? So you have more computational power to solve this puzzle. Or if the hash rate falls, it takes longer to solve this puzzle. So it's hard to maintain the 10 minutes, every 10 minutes. So what the software does, it's really clever. It determines the hash power of the network and decides, well, we have to keep the mining, mining of the block every 10 minutes. So they adjust this value, the mine difficulty target. So as the hash power increases of the network, the mining difficulty target increases. If the hash power decreases, the difficulty target decreases, such that it always takes 10 minutes to mine a block. So 10 minutes, 12.5 Bitcoins are created. It has to stay. That's the heartbeat of the Bitcoin network. Okay, so that's what I mean by it's mathematically regulated, how many Bitcoins are created. Now, the other aspect is, every 4 years, their mining reward, or how many Bitcoins are created, is cut by half. So in 2009, when Bitcoin was first created, every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoins were rewarded, mined and rewarded. In 2012, we went down to 25. In 2016, went down to 12.5 now. In May of this year, we're going to go down to 6.25. And this is going to continue till we get a cap of 21 million Bitcoins. Okay? So this is what I mean by a monetary model. That's what people mean. We know exactly how much are going to be created, what's the rate of their creation, and it's limited. It's capped at 21 million coins. So if we put everything together that we discussed, we have users that make a Bitcoin transaction to their wallet. The transactions go onto the internet. The nodes pick up the transactions. They verify it against a set of rules. When it's validated, it puts into a memory pool for miners to pick it up, and in that process of mining, they're creating new Bitcoins. And they're actually will eventually put it on recorded onto a blockchain. Okay? And this goes 24/7, 365 days a year, and has been doing it for 10 years. It's open, neutral, borderless, and secure. Anybody could join. You can be a developer. Like I said, it's open source software. You have developers that are working on the Bitcoin core software, because some of them get paid in Bitcoin. They want to get paid in Bitcoin. They want to work in this industry. You can run a node. You can be a miner. You can be a user. So it's open and borderless. Anybody could participate in this network. Now, what are the incentives? Like I said, developers we know why. They want security and privacy, extra security and privacy, and have influence over the Bitcoin network because you're doing the most crucial job in the network. Miners, they want to make money. They want to make Bitcoins. So they mine. Now, what about the users? Why do people want to use Bitcoin? Well, there's people in countries that need to use Bitcoin. They're experiencing hyperinflation. They're experiencing capital controls. So people in those countries are starting to realize, well, I don't have control of my money and I need to survive. And we see this playing out right now in Venezuela. And in a lot of other countries, but countries have put a lot of restrictions. A lot of governments and banks are realizing that Bitcoin is sort of taking their business away, and governments realize they don't have much control because it's an open, peerless, open and permissionless network. Okay. So there's people that really need to use it, and this is not. In related cases, we see more and more in the world this situation is arising. And there's people who want wealth and security to secure the wealth and security. They notice that we're in exuberant debt situation around the world. We may not be able to repay that debt. Inflation, there's bank frauds, different type of bail-in type of regulations. So these people are very aware economically and geopolitically what's going on in the world. They understand the economic model that we live in. They understand the fragility of our financial system, and they want to secure their wealth and privacy. So they use Bitcoin. And then you have tech visionaries, people, the early adopters of the internet, the early entrepreneurs of the internet. They see a big innovation arising from this. So they're interested in using Bitcoin, and buying Bitcoin, and actually setting up businesses with Bitcoin. And you have market opportunists. These are people that see, okay, this market is going to be big. There's a lot of potential in this, so they start investing in it. A lot do trading. A lot of venture capitalists that are in this group also. So if you put everything in perspective, there's going to be only 21 million coins. There's 7.7 billion people in this world. 2 billion are unbanked. Unbanked people are the ones that don't have any bank account or any financial service. And Bitcoin, since it's openless and permissionless, as long as you have a cell phone, you download the wallet and buy with cash, maybe cash or over-the-counter services, over-the-counter exchange services, and start transacting with your Bitcoin. So it gives them access to financial freedom. And Libra coin, you heard of the Libra coin, Facebook coming out. They're trying to target this because those people, particularly in Africa and Asia, that don't have a bank account, but they have Facebook. So they want to introduce their own cryptocurrency to those 2 billion people. According to the Human Rights Foundation, more than 50% of the world's population lives under authoritarian regime. So you can imagine there's people living in situations where they don't have access to their money, or they don't have enough money, and they don't have that financial freedom. So they find that Bitcoin gives them that solution, that freedom. And then you have $247 trillion in global debt right now in this world. We will not be able to pay that back. So if you're really following the geopolitics and the financial news of what's going on in this world, we are in very precarious times. So there's people that understand this, and they say, you know what, I want to save my wealth, I want to preserve my wealth, I want to protect my wealth. So they find that Bitcoin gives them that use case, that opportunity to do that. And then this is a fourth industrial revolution. We're going to the digital economy. Things are going to be on the Internet of Things, smart contracts, IoTs, and all, well, Internet of Things, machine-to-machine payments. So Bitcoin falls into that area too. So as digital money, people use it as store of value, like gold. That's why some people call Bitcoin digital gold. And they hodl it. You must have heard this term hodl. Hodl are people that hold on to it. They don't sell it. They just buy it and hold on to it, hoping that with time, it's deflationary money, I will get more money. It's a speculative value. I'm going to get much more money for it after. It's going to be worth a lot more. And some people use it to peer-to-peer exchange, medium of exchange. So like in Venezuela, you have to buy something, you have Bitcoin, they're actually surviving. Some people can buy more with their Bitcoin than carrying a wheelbarrow of their currency. It's permissionless. 2 million bank people can use it. They have a cell phone. It's censorship resistant and unconfiscatable, meaning Bitcoin was made so no central authority could censor your money or censor your transactions. They can't steal your Bitcoins. They can't stop you doing any type of transactions anywhere. So this just gives you a global idea of why Bitcoin is important to a lot of people, and it gives people different value in different use cases. So if we put everything together, we also have businesses. I mean, this is just a list of businesses. I don't know if they're all Bitcoin businesses, but they're all cryptocurrency related businesses. But just to give you an idea how big this market is growing. It's huge. There's businesses popping up everywhere. A lot of companies. These are just a list of companies in Montreal that deal with Bitcoin businesses. So this is starting. This is actually has started and is growing very, very, very fast. So this complete thing, there is no CEO, there is no company, there's no marketing department. It's just organically grown. People that need it, use it. People that want to make Bitcoin, they go into mining. People that want to have influence on the network, have high security and privacy, run their own Bitcoin bank, run Bitcoin nodes. Developers want to contribute, make Bitcoins. So it's an organic system with companies opening up. It's a completely organic system that is growing in a decentralized governance manner. There is no CEO. There's no marketing department. There's no accounting department. Okay? And this whole thing is called the Bitcoin network effect. So when a lot of other companies, cryptocurrencies, say we're Bitcoin, or we're as strong as Bitcoin, or we decentralize as Bitcoin, they don't have this whole setup. You will find some elements of decentralization in it. Bitcoin was the first one, and it's the most decentralized. And a lot of people ask, well, would Bitcoin ever disappear, or, would we have another Bitcoin? That's an interesting question a lot of people ask. Bitcoin is 10 years old. There's still a lot of improvements that need to be done in terms of scalability, in terms of privacy, and fungibility. And they are doing it, and it's moving along. But it had the first mover advantage, and it is the most decentralized. The hash power is the strongest from all the other cryptocurrencies in the cryptocurrency market. So it's the most secure. And people are using it. So would Bitcoin survive? Right now it looks like it's surviving very, very well. Nothing is for sure in life. Nothing, you can't say anything is for sure in life. But if you look at the Bitcoin network effect, it's the strongest and it has great, great potential. So it's the end of my presentation. I'm going to recommend 2 books to read. One is called The Internet of Money, and this one goes in more technical aspect of Bitcoin, understanding the network, a lot of what I described, but in more detail. Okay, and it really explains Bitcoin in a higher level. Basically, it says that we have a decentralized network. You saw the governance. Money, the Bitcoin, the way of using money is just an application on top of the decentralized network that we talked about. So there may be many on top of that. So it's very interesting to read. Takes it to the next level. And then the other one, if anybody's interested in economics, even sociology and how economics affects us and how money affects us, different types of money. Most people don't realize that there is different types of money. The money we use today is fiat. It's a completely different characteristics, and it impacts economies differently. And then we have money that's more hard, that has limited in value and is deflationary. And then it shows, this book will explain to you how different forms of money has affected society and economies along the way throughout the centuries. So this book actually talks about Bitcoin standard. Bitcoin standard meaning a standard of money where it's limited and is hard. It has good value. It is deflationary over time. So those 2 books that people are interested more to understand Bitcoin.
All right.
Thank you. Yes. All the Bitcoins we mined, yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So what happens when all the Bitcoins are mined? Well, in terms of fees that miners make, they start making money on the transaction fees. So the idea is that at that point, we're going to have different type of layers of miners will be able to get a transaction fee. So we'll still need miners to maintain the network, but the incentive will come from the mining fees.
And it's going to be more expensive. So the less the market cap is, it's going to be more expensive. They might it's good, it's going to get to 100.
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Can I ask my question in French?
Sorry?
Can I ask my question?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Ok. La question que je posais, c'est que la sécurité
Oui.
du système repose sur les cryptosystèmes asymétriques.
Ok.
Okay? Parce que vous n'avez pas de clé privée, de clé publique.
Oui.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe avec la cryptographie quantique qui pourrait attaquer les systèmes à clé publique?
The public key, attacking the keys, right? So, okay. I'm going to repeat it in English, so make sure I understand it. So you're asking, what's the security in the wallet that uses a public and private key, correct? Right?
What will happen when we will have the quantum cryptography?
Oh, quantum.
Break.
Okay.
Can you break the
Yeah.
asymmetric cryptosystem?
That's a good question. So basically, the question is the cryptographic keys that the wallets use, which are very important for us. That's the one that lets us do transactions and make sure that nobody can steal our Bitcoin. What happens if they break through quantum computing? Right? Quantum computing is this new age type of computer, right? Right now, the development of quantum computing that we know of publicly or that we know of could barely do very minuscule jobs, right? It's a small little kind of instructions or jobs. Maybe in 10 years, you're able to start breaking cryptographic hash functions, okay? But you have to also understand that technology evolves, right? And if quantum computers could break SHA-256, they're going to be attacking the whole internet because internet uses cryptographic algorithms. They're used everywhere. So it's not just about Bitcoin. It's just about the whole internet. So yes, quantum computing will break a lot of things, but that will take time. And at that time, we're evolving. You know, what is it? The Moore's law? Grisham's law, is it? Or Moore's law? Moore's law, where it... yeah. So that's going to advance. So when I talk about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's not just alone in that, technology always advances, right? We're always building, we're always making it better, and that's going to be the natural progression.
I just want to add for this. In Bitcoin, there's like 2 levels of encryption. So there's the public key, and then there are the addresses after this. So the Bitcoin that are really exposed to quantum computing are the ones that the public key is known, and that's about 4 million Bitcoins right now. So even if like SHA-256 would be broken like soon, only 4 million Bitcoins are vulnerable to be hacked and seized this way. And if you want to like learn more about this, I suggest you to listen to a podcast from Stefan Livera. He talks exactly about this, and they explore it like more technically.
Sorry, I think there was a follow-up.
Oh, sorry, yes, sorry, I'm so sorry. No, go ahead.
Sort of ethos and sort of like preferring soft forks over hard forks is sort of an issue when addressing sort of quantum computing.
Hard forks and soft forks? Forks?
In Bitcoin of preferring sort of soft forks and backwards compatible changes over hard forks. Do you think that's sort of a weakness?
Okay, so you're asking...
Especially in addressing sort of quantum.
Well, yeah, I mean, the question about is... does hard fork and soft forks affect or work?
The fact that the ethos around Bitcoin favors sort of soft forks over hard forks.
Yes.
Is that sort of a potential weakness in defending against?
Okay, so Bitcoin, there's hard forks and soft forks. So let me just explain what soft fork and hard forks are. The software that's running this whole Bitcoin network, if there's a change to it, because there are changes that take place, if it's a major change, what happens is that if it's a soft fork, that means that it's backward compatible. The software keeps going, the blockchain keeps going. If there's a major change, it's not backward compatible, or the network does not agree that they want to make the change, there's not a consensus in the network, then a group of people that want to do the new software actually branch off the original Bitcoin and they create another blockchain. And Bitcoin Cash was one, where they decided to do a different way of scaling, so they branched off the main Bitcoin blockchain and they create their own coin. So that was called a hard fork, okay? Now in terms of using hard fork and soft fork for quantum computing or any other type of attack or vulnerabilities, I really don't know how to answer that. Maybe, but I guess the point is that you will always, technology is not going to stop, it's going to keep evolving. Whether at one point they decide that quantum computing or something else is affecting Bitcoin and they have to change something, they might, I guess. Yeah.
Likely to change, that's the thing.
Likely? I don't know.
Because there is this sort of lack of a resistance to change, which is a strength, I guess, but like potentially would address some quantum computing.
Personally, what I feel, I think that quantum computing has a way to come. It's not very close in our future. Okay, there could be other type of cryptographic, more stronger cryptographic algorithms that will come out, and this is going to play out as the way technology plays out. That's what I think. So I don't know how they would react to it, and if it would be a useful tool in handling these type of changes, but I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if I answered your question. Yes.
Bitcoin is recognized by any bank?
Is it recognized by banks?
Yes.
Is it recognized by banks? That's a good question.
What do you mean by recognized?
Yeah.
Can you buy Bitcoin from a bank or sell it to a bank?
No.
Just to shops and exchange bureaus and stuff like that. I saw it on the streets, like depanners and exchange bureaus. Now they are using it. But with the bank, you don't.
No, banks, no.
Because Bitcoin itself, it's not in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but
operate on its own. It doesn't need to go. The whole point of Bitcoin is to be a currency which is not in the banking system.
Exactly, but to bank dealing with notes, with bank notes.
There's thousands of banks worldwide.
In Japan, yes, maybe in Korea, but I don't know.
You can give Bitcoin to the government to pay your income tax.
Yes, you could. Yes, thank you. Yes, there are certain places that allow you to pay Bitcoin, allow to make your tax payments in Bitcoin.
So it's official now.
I wouldn't say it's official. I don't know. I don't know if you call it official. You see, the problem is that governments and banks are having a hard time to understand how to control Bitcoin. Okay, because what you're basically doing is taking control out of their hands. So they notice that Bitcoin has a use for people. They notice that people will use it. So they're trying to integrate themselves in such a manner that they don't lose their own business or lose their own control. So they're trying to adapt. Okay, and that's why a lot of banks, a lot of governments, a lot of them shun Bitcoin. Go, no, it's like in India, you're not supposed to use Bitcoin. You're not supposed to buy Bitcoin. But people still do it. They're still managing. It's not as easy to do it as it is here, but they still manage to get their hands on Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin and transact with Bitcoin. In China, they stopped mining. So my point is, governments and banks are starting to realize that they can't ignore Bitcoin. So if some jurisdiction decides, okay, we want to start accepting Bitcoins for tax payments, they will do that because they're trying to sort of adapt. But there's other jurisdictions that don't adapt. So it's not officially stated that, yes, Bitcoin is great for everybody and governments are going to start accepting and adopting it. It's not official like that. It's just little pockets everywhere. They're starting to realize, hey, we can somehow work in this environment because people are going to use it. Some people will decide they need to use it. So it's not official, but yes, you do have little pockets that are accepting Bitcoin.
So it's accepted by tax,
in Ohio, in the US, you can pay your income tax.
Also in Ontario, I heard.
Not provincial, they're federal. So certain cities.
It's districts or something.
Like property taxes.
Property tax in Ontario too. It's not provincial. It's not federal. No.
At least it's not illegal. I mean, at least you won't be considered a criminal if you do it.
Yeah.
It's not been declared illegal anywhere.
In some countries,
Well, some places they do, yeah. In India, they don't allow you to use it. Yeah. Because it's interesting, the diagram, where's the diagram I showed you? Here in the back. This whole thing, okay? Like I said, there's no CEO. You can't shut it down. When you have a company, you have a CEO. You can put a CEO in jail. You can shut down a company. You can sue, the CFO to bring down a technology or a market. Who are they going to attack here? China has tried to attack miners. They move somewhere else. India doesn't want people to start using Bitcoin. They somehow manage. Sometimes. So my point is, these banks and governments realize a change is coming. So they're trying to. Some banks and nations are trying to adapt to it, and some are just basically shunning it. But you'll notice a lot of them are still stepping into the cryptocurrency market. You're going to see banks coming out their own cryptocurrency. You're going to see Facebook coming out their own cryptocurrency. Technical companies, these tech companies, they have the technology behind them, and they have the client base behind them, like Facebook. So they said, hey, why don't we take the bank's job? Why don't we become the new banks? So you're going to see more tech companies take over being the new banks. Yes?
Dans mon pays, enfin en Afrique,
oui.
Il y a ce qu'on appelle la saison des pluies.
Okay.
Et pendant la saison des pluies, il y a des grandes coupures d'électricité.
Okay.
Ça veut dire qu'il n'y a plus de courant.
Oui, ok.
Ok. Qu'est-ce qui se passe si je suis en train de faire une transaction, en train d'ajouter un bloc à la blockchain, qu'il y a une coupure d'électricité à ce moment-là? Et puis là.
Yeah. Macha, can you answer that? Oh, you have?
C'est plus une question de réseau. Donc, si votre réseau s'arrête, mais vous n'avez pas eu le temps de broadcast la transaction au réseau, ben, la transaction ne va pas se passer. Mais si vous avez eu le temps de la faire et que vous êtes dans le réseau, elle va se dérouler, peu importe que vous avez manqué d'électricité. Je ne sais pas si ça répond à la question.
Ça dépend du point de vue utilisateur ou point de vue miner. Tu vas essayer de faire une transaction.
C'est ça, parce qu'il y a un gros travail crypto à faire. Donc plein de travail crypto, ça coûte.
Donc là, tu arrives dans la course d'une ounce. Puis si tu es un ounce, par exemple, en Afrique, et là, tu trouves la réponse, tu l'émets, et là, l'électricité coupe. Donc là, à partir du moment où tu l'émets, les autres miners dans le monde vont confirmer ou non si le nonce est valide. S'il est valide, ça va fonctionner. OK? Là, c'est vraiment pointu là, dans le moment. Mais à partir du moment où tu as broadcasté ça, les autres vont l'essayer, ça fait partie des règles d'affaires du Bitcoin. Puis par la suite, toi, si tu shut down, c'est pas grave. Les autres vont valider, mais oui, ça marche, ça marche, 50% plus 1, ou on ferme le bloc.
Let's start from the beginning. PKI is present. When you want to get in, you have a password.
Yes.
You have to put a password.
For?
To just get to your wallet.
Okay.
You have to put a password.
Yes.
Of course, nobody is going to answer to that. Or you just got $100,000, just give me your password.
I think he's asking, do you have that password?
Oh, on the wallet?
Yes.
Yes, you can add a password on your wallet. Yes.
1, 2, 3 factors.
You could.
Yeah.
How many factors?
And that password is supposed to protect your private keys.
Yes.
This is a UI question.
But how many factors?
No, I think he's misunderstanding the way wallets and private keys work.
What do you mean by factors? I don't.
Just one factor. Your user's name. Second factor, your password.
Yeah.
Third factor, whatever, what you are.
Okay.
Your fingerprint.
Oh, okay.
Or your IP address, or whatever.
Some wallets they use authenticators. So
Yeah.
you have to, they send you a password. You have to copy that password. It changes every 10 seconds. So that code will generate every 10 seconds. To keep you secure.
So wallets were not discussed today. Wallets are a separate thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right. Wallets can change.
There are different type of wallets. Yeah. Well, there's many wallets out there with different features, and you have cold wallet. I didn't even go that today. You have cold wallet, hot wallets, and you can set up a wallet on your own node. So there's different.
Yeah, wallets are not part of the Bitcoin Bitcoin core system.
No.
We just discussed it.
No.
Wallets are the user side.
Yeah.
We can have another conversation about wallets.
Yeah, yeah.
Wallets are not part of today's conversation.
Okay, if your authentication is stolen, that's just what that is saying. What do? You open another wallet, and then that original wallet, you transfer everything to the new wallet.
It doesn't.
On the same hardware wallet, you can have like thousands of wallets,
Yeah.
with different passphrases, for example. You don't have to transfer your stuff over.
Yeah. Yes.
What about all the other cryptocurrencies out there? Like so far, you've only been talking about
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What are your feelings about the others? That some of them are shady, or some of
That's
them?
a very good question. I mean, yes. So the question is, what about the other cryptocurrencies? I talked about Bitcoin today, but how do you see the other cryptocurrencies in the market? I did this presentation, like I said, because I want you guys to understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, the technology, the network, the organic growth. Okay, Bitcoin, like I said, was the first cryptocurrency. Its main purpose for decentralization, so you can have money that's not confiscatable and it's uncensorship. Now, the technology that Bitcoin brought created a lot of other cryptocurrencies. Some of them do have some viable use cases, but they still have to pan out. You still have to see how they evolve, right? Like Ethereum is one. People are very interested in Ethereum as a smart contract platform. I personally don't find Ethereum a competitor to Bitcoin. They're two very different things. There's people that say Ethereum is just as good as Bitcoin. They're two very different things. Bitcoin is decentralized. It's used for money that is unconfiscatable and censorship resistant. Ethereum, basically, the Vitalik Buterin that created Ethereum, he worked on Bitcoin initially, but he found that it was very specific for a certain need. The Bitcoin is for this decentralization need. So he wasn't very flexible. So he created a new platform that that allows you to build smart contracts on top of it. So it doesn't really compete with Bitcoin. They're two very, very different things. The other cryptocurrencies, the problem is it's such a new field. We don't know exactly who's going to succeed or not succeed. And a lot of them are scams. A lot of these projects will not survive, and you'll see a lot of people have gone burnt, and they will continue to get burned because this market is pump and dump. You see the market go and fall and go and fall. And there's smart people that know that this market is going to get so huge, just go in there. These are scammers. Let's just tell people this is going to be the next Bitcoin, and people say, oh great, you can buy it at 2 cents, and it's going to be like $8,000 like Bitcoin. They put money in and poof, it falls. So a lot of people get scammed because they don't understand what makes Bitcoin unique. If you want to go into the market and want to invest in a project, fine, invest in it, but understand it. But it's not Bitcoin. That's what people need to be aware of. What Bitcoin gives you, no other cryptocurrency can give you right now. And just a side note, Libra, right? Libra, if you read about it, it has some sort of a setup. They don't have miners, but they have nodes. Now, for Bitcoin, anybody can run a node. So you have influence over on Libra. Who's going to run the nodes? You have to have over like $10 million just to run a node. You're going to either be a Visa, PayPal, this type of. They will have control over how your transactions get approved or not. So where's the essential? It's not. So when you read about other cryptocurrencies in the market, some of them won't even have a blockchain. Some won't even do mining. They can create as many as tokens as they want or cryptocurrencies as they want. Some of them will have nodes or not have nodes, and even the ones that have nodes, it will be centralized. So there's different characteristics of projects that exist in the cryptocurrency market. And yes, some will survive, some will do good, but majority of them are going to fail. So you really need to understand what you're investing in. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I have another question.
Sure.
Why the 21 million ceiling? Who decided that and why?
Okay, that's a good question. Why the 21 million ceiling? Why do we only have 21 million coins? Well, the interesting thing is the group or person that created Bitcoin, I did say, is nobody knows who created it. It's Satoshi Nakamoto. It could be a group, it could be a person, we don't know. And that person is not available. We don't know where that person is, or if that person is still alive, or group alive. Bitcoin was made to be sound money. Okay, now I don't know if anybody knows what sound or hard money is. It's money that holds value over time. Okay, so people that really understand Bitcoin or value Bitcoin understand economics to a certain degree. They understand how money is created and what gives money its value. Okay, when something is limited in value, limited in amount, it has more value. Correct? People hold on to gold, and gold has always been used as a form of money throughout history. The money we use is currency. The government could print as much as they want, and they are printing as much as they want. So that 2% inflation, or whatever inflation that we feel in our lives, where things get more expensive, life gets harder to make ends meet, right? And we have these booms and busts, economies and everything. That's caused by the economic model that our money, the banking system, uses, called fiat money. Okay, Bitcoin was designed to be like gold, but digital gold. So it can be used through the internet. Right now, if I do a transaction with gold, I can't do it with somebody across the world. It's very difficult. And you can't carry gold exactly on the plane, right? They have capital controls. There's so much gold you can actually do business with. Gold was always used because of limited value, so it held its value, right? If I want to buy something from you, if I give you sand, you'll say, well, it's not worth anything, but gold has more value, right? So you have to understand the history of money, how money has evolved throughout history. And then you'll understand what hard money is or sound money is. It's money that holds value over time.
Right, but why 21? Why not 20? Why not 22?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sure.
It's pretty much an arbitrary number. The idea is to have it capped. The idea is to have it in limited quantity. As Uzma said, in economics, if the resource is scarce, it's limited in quantity, it will have value. So the idea was just to cap it. And 21 billion is just out.
Yeah.
Cannot change. If it changes, this is not Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah.
It needs to stay at 21.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, so nobody knows why it's 21.
Well, yeah, 21, like she said, it's just, yeah.
It's just a notion of scarcity. To make something scarce, like valuable, you have to limit the quantity.
No, I get the principle. I just wonder.
The number. Yeah.
Like the number 21.
They did not give a reason for 21.
Yeah.
There's 21 billion in U.S. Treasuries, which actually calculates the same amount of zeros to the dollar. It's very interesting. It's poetically interesting. I'd like to confirm that information. I'm just searching, but it would answer your question, but I don't think it's maybe the right answer.
If you want to speculate, 21 years is the length of a limited partnership in Anglo-American common law.
Okay. Well, you see, Bitcoin involves everything: sociology, economics, psychology.
21 is half.
Hey.
And 42 is the answer to all the questions.
Yes.
Do you think like the bankless thing is just a meme, or do you think people living under sort of authoritarian rule actually find Bitcoin useful at some point?
Do I think the banks? You have to repeat it.
The bankless is just like a meme at the moment.
A meme, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want, So he's asking if the bankless people, that's just a meme. Is that there's any value held in people?
When do you think it'll be sort of useful for those sort of living under authoritarian?
You want to know if the unbanked people.
Yeah, sort of when do you believe that it'll be useful for them?
Oh, okay. So he's asking, when do you think it'll be useful for people that are living under authoritarian rule? When would they start waking up or start using Bitcoin?
Finding legitimate needs.
Where Bitcoin will provide for their needs, right? I think it's going to start slowly. I think it's already started in some places, but it's going to take time. It's education. That's one of the reasons I do presentations. And it's interesting, if you look at countries that have been through financial crises, like hyperinflation, somehow they learn on their own. Venezuelan. I don't know how many people were trained on what Bitcoin is, and they had presentations. But people that when you need to survive, you become very resourceful. So these people learned on their own. And I think this is in Cyprus, when they had the banking crisis, a lot of people went to Bitcoin. A lot, and that's where you had a little peak, a little jump in the price at that time. So people will learn. If the need is there, if they need to survive, they will learn to find a way to use Bitcoin. Yeah.
How far away do you think it's
I don't know.
usable state in the next 5 years?
Okay, usable state. So the question is, how is Bitcoin in the usable state for people to start adopting worldwide, very fast-paced Bitcoin? That's a very good question. Personally, I feel not completely, because we're still working on the scalability issues. Do you remember in 2017 when Bitcoin got really, really popular, and then people that was trying to transact, it was taking very long to transact, and the transaction fee was actually rising very, very fast, because we weren't ready for that onboard for most people. So this will take time, but the development in Bitcoin Core and all these companies is moving very, very fast. So I can't really put a number on it, but it's going in the right direction and it's going very, very fast. Any other questions?
Sounds like that. All right.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Good job.
Thank you.